Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in podcast land. This is the Judo Chop Suey podcast, and I'm your host, Judo Dave Roman. What's going on, everybody? I hope you all had a very good week and a very good weekend, and you managed to stay safe and not get injured during judo training. I got lots to get to on this particular episode of the Judo Chop Suey podcast. I want to talk a little bit about the All Japan Judo Championships, and I want to talk about a little bit of news coming from the IJF regarding a new location for the Junior World Championships. If you're not aware, the Pan American Championships are happening right now as we speak in Panama City, Panama, and the IJF's next big tournament, which is going to be in a city called Ekaterinburg in Russia, is going to be taking place. I want to talk a little bit about that. There's a little bit of big news going into that tournament that I want to discuss, and I'll be sure to get there eventually, so don't you worry about that one bit. You know I got you covered here. I hope you took the opportunity to listen to my last episode, which was an interview featuring Sensei Steve Scott, the creator of freestyle judo. I gotta tell you guys, I was very, very impressed with that interview, not because of me, but because of him. And I was really struck by Steve's passion for judo. Being in judo for over 50 years, he sounds like a guy that is still has this deep passion for judo and for getting better and for being a better coach and always willing to learn. That's the kind of guy that he struck me as. And he's a Shichidan. I mean, he's been around for over 50 years. He's got his own club. He's got a lot of assistants. He's promoted a lot of people. He knows a lot of people. And I was very impressed by his intensity and enthusiasm for freestyle judo and for judo as a whole. And it just wanted to get that out there. I hope you guys had a chance to listen to that interview, because I listened to it over again, which is something I normally don't do, because it's kind of like it's kind of like going out with the same girl twice on the same day. You know, you have the date once, and you know, maybe you see her in the future, but you don't go out with her again the same night. You know what I mean? So that's just me. But anyway, I did listen to the interview all over again, and I thought it went really well, and I was really, really impressed with his answers. And I think if you guys have not had an opportunity to listen to the entire interview, you should give it a listen, because this is just somebody who has given so much of himself to judo, and the freestyle judo rules and his rule set is very interesting to me anyway, and it's something that I'd like to incorporate at some point in the future in my own club. Not necessarily get away from IJF standard judo, but to have something on the side that we can say, hey, you know what? Not only do we just do regular judo tournaments for the kids, but if you want to practice leg grabs at our club, you're more than welcome to do so. Just you want to compete in freestyle judo rules or train as if you're competing for or preparing for a freestyle judo tournament, feel free. Just let us know, and so that's going to be an avenue I'd like to take the club in the future if the club sensei is willing to do that. Now, speaking of the club, I gotta say we're still a little bit in limbo. I do think that once the building closes that we're at, that we will have a place to go. It's not gonna be really a permanent place, but it's my understanding there's a local guy that teaches jiu-jitsu. He's got a relatively small club, and he'll allow us to use that space. But boy, I tell you, just like I said in the last podcast, the Wednesday class, nobody showed up, and it was very disappointing. And I think in total, we got to be down to, let's see, about 4 kids now, and one of them's injured, and it's kind of tough. It's really tough to see the club, you know, kind of be this way. And I was talking to the club sensei on Friday, which we did have a few kids show up, and that was pretty good. And Monday was kind of interesting because it allowed some of the adults from the jiu-jitsu class that was a part of this, you know, building, which is now going away. They came over for judo, and I used that opportunity to practice some left-sided throws. Now, my left side is not very good at all, and I wish I had a camera rolling because I wanted to take a log of where I started when I started practicing the left-sided throws and where I ended up just this past Friday. I've made some really great progress with a left-sided Ippon Seoinage. Now, I want to be able to do this throw from my standard right-handed grip. So could I demonstrate a left-sided throw from a left-sided grip? Yes, I can. But I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be able to use this throw. I want to incorporate a left-sided Ippon Seoinage as part of my repertoire if I'm going against somebody lefty versus righty. I want that ability to be able to turn in really quickly and throw a person for Ippon. So Monday I started this endeavor to try and practice this, and it was rough. I mean, I was able to throw people on the crash pads, but man, my balance was off. I was falling all over the place. I looked like a real beginner. And I tried this a little bit again Wednesday, but Friday, one of the taller teenagers that was there, he allowed me to get some reps in. And it started really coming together fairly quickly. So I would say that for myself, from where I started Friday, I'd say about 50 throws later, I really started to get a good feel for it. And that's kind of the advantage that once you become really experienced in judo, the throws do come a little bit easier if you're trying to learn something new. Sorry about that. If you were listening, you could hear my text message indicator go off in the background. If you recognize the sound, that is the sound of the NFL draft little jingle whenever a team is about to make a selection. So my Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a very good Thursday night draft going into the weekend, and I'm very proud of my Bucs. I can't wait for the season, but this is a judo podcast. It's not an NFL podcast, but I got to say, yeah, I'm very excited about the NFL draft. So go Bucs. But anyway, where was I? My club. Yeah, so long story short, I think we will have a space somewhere. I just don't really know where, and we're still trying to iron those things out. When I talked to the club sensei on Friday, I think we both need to take a new approach with this club, trying to get more kids in. We need a better social media presence. You know, I volunteered that I can help out in that regard because I think it's important for the club to have an active Facebook page, an active Instagram account, and to be able to show the local judo community that we are a judo club that is open for business, basically. So I hope that at some point, and I think the club needs a name change because it's currently called Riverview Judo, but it's not in Riverview, it's in Ruskin. But we can't go calling it Ruskin Judo, and we might go to Apollo Beach. So I don't know. We have to find a name that it doesn't matter where we go, the name sticks. But anyway, before I get to some of the news and related items that I want to talk about on this podcast, it's about time for my favorite segment.
What time is it?
Listener reaction. My favorite segment of the Judo Chop Suey podcast. And this segment of the Judo Chop Suey podcast is sponsored by one of my favorite YouTube channels, The Nick and Sai Show. Now, I'm not saying they're one of my favorite YouTube channels because they're sponsoring the segment. It's been one of my favorite channels for many, many years. Now, you guys may not know this, but I used to have a different YouTube channel that they subscribed to probably about 7 years ago by now, 7-8 years ago. So, of course, I subscribe back to the Nick and Sai Show because I always subscribe back to people who subscribe to me. So I've been following that channel for many years. Nick and Sai Collier have been creating judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, self-defense, and stunt-type videos for many, many years. And they also compete nationally in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They put out good stuff. A few weeks ago, I watched this really, really nifty counter to a guard slam, a technique that I wouldn't really know how to get out of other than maybe letting go of my legs and hoping that I still didn't get slammed. But they really demonstrated a really nice counter to the guard slam in a no-gi situation. And, you know, on a personal note, I've watched them grow up. And I got to say, you know, it's really special to see the Collier brothers bond together over all these years over a common love of all things grappling. Now, you guys have seen those John Wick movies, right? after all, it's a display of judo combined with guns and killing and all this awesome action stuff. Well, the Collier brothers are sponsored by 8711 Action Design, which is the company that produced and directed those John Wick movies. Many of you guys may not know this, but, and this is a true story, I'm personal friends with Keanu Reeves. Yeah, you hear that, but Matt? You hear that? I've kept that from you, but Keanu Reeves is a personal friend of mine. I know he's your favorite actor. And anyway, a few years ago, after I watched John Wick, I called him up and say, "Yo, Key," and his friends call him Key. So, "Yo, Key, where did you learn all those judo techniques?" And I asked him, did you learn them from watching my YouTube channel? And he said, "Sorry, Judo Dave, but I learned those techniques from the Collier brothers." True story, bro. So, like I said, go on and check out the Nick and Sai Show on YouTube. It's www.theyoutube.com/user/Nick and Sai. I'll put the link in the podcast description. Subscribe to them, and, while you're at it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, too. Now, speaking of listener reaction, part of the reaction that I've gotten from my last podcast was a bunch of follows on Instagram. Guys, I love it. I love it. I must have gotten like 10 follows after I told you guys if you weren't following my Instagram, well, you. After I said that, it's like you guys just like, I better click that follow button or else Judo Day is going to get all angry. I didn't mean it, guys, but I appreciate it anyway. If you haven't been following my YouTube channel, my Instagram channel, you got to check it out. So follow me at La Vida Judoka, and you can see the shirt that Jonah Ewell of Oakland Judo sent me as a gift to the show, which is something I greatly appreciated. So that's part of the listener reaction. I got an email that I got to read. It's from an anonymous email. I'm not going to say his name because he doesn't want a bunch of hate. And quite frankly, I don't blame him because this email was venomous. I mean, if this email was a snake, it would be a black mamba. Here it goes. Salam, Mr. Roman. It has been much to my delight to discover that you host a judo podcast. Do you know how many times I've streamed IJF-sanctioned events at 1 a.m., all the while thinking nobody else in the U.S. has a clue that there are major tournaments going on? Let's get to the crux of the things straight away. First, thank you for bringing some much-needed attention to the fact that, by and large, training judo in the USA sucks for anybody over the age of 14. Many of the quote-unquote senseis are unaccomplished, self-absorbed pricks who don't keep up with modern-day judo. Teddy Riner, you ask? Never heard of him. Georgios Antaria? Oh no, that doesn't look like classical Kodokan Judo to me. The UFC? Barbaric. It is the most tragic example of you get what you pay for. Sure, you might be only paying $40 a month, but the trade-off is that you are being quote-unquote taught by an obese 55-year-old man who never competed beyond Sankyu. And perhaps much to your dismay, the guy is a complete and utter... I can't say that word here. That's not the kind of judo we do here. Save that for the bars. Yes, I definitely would have called head diving penalty on Zantaria. Less randori, more uchikomi. Why weren't you volunteering at the last cultural festival? If you want to be a member of this dojo, you must be grilling pork for 8 hours on a perfectly good Saturday. Who said you can come here wearing a blue gi? You show up at the adult class, and maybe there are 4 middle-aged recreationalists and an army of children. So you try to talk things out with the elder quote-unquote senseis. So this would be him, I guess. With respect, could we perhaps allow adults to practice on their own away from the little ones? And here's a sensei. Well, the thing is, this dojo has a tradition of giving back. And after all, the children are the future. So as an adult, you are here to help them grow. Yep, you heard that right, folks. Give up the precious little time that you have available as an adult, only to serve as a throwing dummy for a 6th grader who will more than likely quit judo altogether within the next 3 to 5 years. Meanwhile, there are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Mundial champions all over the place, including in Tampa Bay, Florida. And that's me. Listen, if BJJ is basically just judo, then you're going to be a whole lot better off shelling out some extra dough to train with the Mendes brothers than if you were to sign up at some cultural institute with an abusive, unstable, domineering egomaniac heading up the classes. I don't want to sound like a bad guy. So here you go. Continuing on. Are there some genuinely nice older judoka who want to give back but may not be the most accomplished competitors out there? Sure, and I do not fault them at all. Well, thanks, because I would probably put myself in that group. On the other hand, you run into pompous a-holes who really aren't even good, who will not allow themselves to be put in a position to get exposed for the frauds that they are. Like, and he gives an example. I can't do randori because my arthritis is flaring up. These guys are killing judo. New guys show up, get cussed out for not bowing properly, and they never are to be seen again, probably signed up at, he gives an example of some club. I can't say the name here. I'm not going to put that club on blast. Anyway, continuing on. I've visited countries where judo flourishes. The U.S. is so far behind, it's no wonder they are still hunting for that men's Olympic gold. In fact, it's a miracle any American male has set foot on a podium considering how undeveloped most programs here are. The USA dominates in many sports. For example, we have our best team assembled. We beat up on European and Latin American teams in basketball. We have some of the best boxers. Our baseball teams are highly regarded. But when it comes to judo, I almost feel like telling others to save themselves a disappointment and just make use of the many first-rate BJJ champions who have opened up academies here. American judo is on par with Jamaican bobsledding. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Now, this is an anonymous emailer. There's a couple of things that I want to respond to, and I'm just going to take some quotes here. Let's see, going on. Thank you for bringing much needed attention. USA Judo sucks for everybody over the age of 14. All right, so some of my responses here is, my immediate response is that I get where he's coming from. There are, and I've said this before, the old guard in judo needs to go away at some point. And it's not because these people are not contributing. They are contributing to judo, but they have an old school mentality. It's like, a lot of old school judo, the history of the judo in the United States came from post World War II, early 1950s Americana. And those guys were a lot of them that started judo or brought judo from Japan into the United States. They were World War II vets. And a lot of their immediate students learned judo from these World War II veterans. And these guys had a different approach to teaching judo and running their classes. And to this emailer's point, I don't see it as much anymore, but those guys still exist. And they hold very important positions within judo and within their state's national governing bodies. My first judo club started off with a guy that was like that. Very old school, came from the 1950s Air Force, learning judo then and carrying a lot of military traditions and a military mindset to their judo clubs. And I tend to agree with this email. Now, I think this emailer went to extremes on some of his points, but I do, perhaps where he is at, these are the kind of experiences that he's having, or at least maybe the senseis that are in his area, because, post World War II people are now in their late 80s and 90s. So I'm guessing maybe their direct students who would be in their 50s and 60s are that way. I can tell you for sure, Sensei Steve Scott, a Welcome Mat Judo, is not that kind of guy. And I think you guys heard that if you listened to my last episode. I think you guys would have heard for yourselves that he is not that kind of guy. So let's see, another quote he says here. You show up to an adult class and maybe there are 4 middle-aged recreationalists and an army of children. So you try and talk things out with the elder sensei, and he goes on and on about, giving back to the students and stuff. Now, while I have not had this kind of conversation with a sensei, I have been in this situation. Now, as an assistant instructor, I do take falls for the 6th graders out there because that is my role, and I gladly portray that role as the best that I can, and I'm very willing to take falls for 6th graders and kids and beginners and things like that. I love doing that. I love helping kids get better at judo, but I am an assistant instructor. That is my role. And this emailer, I have been in his position where as an EQ, as a Shodan, I'm trying to get better. I'm a student. I mean, right now, and I've always said it before, I am a student that teaches currently, but I'm still a student. So if I'm just a student going to a club and it's expected for me to take falls for kids and stuff like that, and I'm not getting better, yeah, that's a problem. I think this anonymous emailer, there's, like I said, I think he took things to extreme, but there's points that he's making that I think are very valid. Continuing on here, and you know, he goes into this rant about the older judoka and some of the pompous a-holes who aren't really good, who won't allow who won't randori themselves and things like that. Now, I don't know what it's like to be an older judoka. At 42, I can tell you that I'm not the same athlete, if you want to call me that. I'm not the same guy that it was at 32. And I gotta believe once I turn 52, I won't be the same as I was at 42. So I want to make sure that as a judoka, as an instructor, that I can randori within reason for as long as possible, because I don't want to be the guy that is afraid to roll or anything like that. Even these days at 42, I am choosy on who I randori with if they're adults, because I need to make sure I got a full-time job, I got a family, I got to make sure nobody takes me out, rips up my knee because they're being stupid. But I still go to different clubs in randori. I still want to randori as much as possible because I have a lot of fun doing it. But, I think we got to understand that some of these people that anonymous emailer may be coming across is that these are older people that can't afford to get injured, but they can afford to still give back to the judo community and teach at a local level. And should they be pompous? No, definitely not. Should they be the kind of guys that hold back students in rank? Absolutely not. And I know that happens. I know of somebody that has happened to. I know of two people actually that has happened to. That these older instructors, they get into these positions. They got their rokudans, but screw you guys. I'm not going to promote you guys because I had to work for my rank, so I'm going to hold you guys back for no good reason whatsoever. Yeah, a lot of that exists, and I know some of the listeners out here who live in my particular area, you know who I'm talking about, and you know who I am talking about in terms of who are the students that got screwed over. I'm not going to say names, but you know what? If you want to reach out to me and say, hey, are you talking about me? Yeah, unfortunately, I'm talking about you, because I know some of you guys have been screwed out of rank because of hard-headed sensei out there. They do exist. And, this emailer finishes with the point of, he feels like telling others, look, don't bother with judo, go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it's hard to argue when you have these kind of sensei in this kind of position who are dragging judo down. And I've been talking about this the entire length of all my podcast episodes, that there is a problem in USA Judo. Now, to springboard off of this anonymous emailer's comments, I've got breaking news. Kayla Harrison just put USA Judo on blast. I just got this update on my Facebook feed. I just happen to be looking through my Facebook feed because you guys, sometimes I pause, I stop recording, I re-record, I splice it all together. So between what I was just going over with the email and now me talking, I just saw this update on Kayla Harrison's official Facebook page. A video was posted where she basically put the USA Judo on blast. And let me tell you, a lot of what she is saying is stuff that I have been ranting about for 20 episodes. Make it 21 now. 21 episodes. And instead of trying to sum it up, I'm just going to play the audio of what she said here. If she gets upset with me for sharing her audio on this particular video, she can reach out to me and I'll edit the video out and repost the podcast. But this is very important. You all have to hear this, and I'm going to react to it once this audio is done. Listen to this.
Over the past 6 years, and normally I start off every speech with you in a judo demonstration, but I don't have to here, which is kind of refreshing. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but I just want to say a few things. Since I was 6 years old, judo has been the love of my life. From the very first time I stepped on the mat, I loved it. And I loved everything about it. And it has taught me so many lessons in life. Perseverance, courage, determination, hard work. But judo has not always loved me back. There have been a lot of hard days. There have been a lot of moments that I've had to power through. I've powered through losses, and I've powered through surgeries, and I've powered through concussions, and I've powered through family issues, and I've powered through personal struggles and personal nightmares that many of you know of. But it gets to a point where you kind of just get tired of powering through. If it weren't for the people, some of the people in this room, but the people that aren't in this room, like the Pedros, I would not be a two-time Olympic champion. I might not even be alive. So, this isn't directed at anyone in particular, but this is a warning. USA Judo needs to have a plan. USA Judo needs to have people who care about that plan. The Pedros, for the last 50 years, have been involved in the sport and have cared about the sport and have brought it to the highest levels it's ever seen. Their advice, their consultation, and their help is no longer being heeded. And that is why USA Judo will not be successful on the highest level. For the first time since I can remember at the Pan Am Championships, we did not bring home a gold medal. And that is not a coincidence. The people who love judo are being punished. And I'm tired. I'm very tired. My entire life has been about this sport. Everything that I do is to help grow this sport. But today, when I'm trying to coach the future of our sport, I'm asked to step behind the barrier because I don't have a credential. And I can't do it anymore. I can't. Winning America's first Olympic gold medal and only 2 Olympic gold medals has been the highlight of my life. And it has been a pleasure and an honor. But judo, I'm breaking up with you. I need a break. I wish the new administration the best of luck. I wish the future Olympians and Paralympians and young athletes the best of luck. I hope you find everything you're looking for in this sport, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to become who you see in front of you today. Thank you very much.
You hear that, USA Judo? You have failed. You have been failing for years and years and years. And I would suggest any of the American listeners who are listening to this podcast, do not renew your USA Judo membership. If Kayla Harrison, of all people, one of the kindest people, one of the greatest ambassadors of our sport and of judo for the United States, can make such statements to bring her to tears, to bring her to her breaking point. If USA Judo can do this, they are not worthy of your money. They are not worthy of your support. And they are not worthy of your time. You know, it's funny. Last week when I was interviewing Sensei Steve Scott, he talked about having his own Yudanshakai so he could promote his own students as he sees fit. And, I know there are people out there who criticize, who might be critical of Sensei Steve Scott about doing such a thing. But is USA Judo better? Is USA Judo the kind of organization that you want to support and promote your students for? If this is how they're going to treat the greatest judoka in American history, if they can treat her that way, they can treat you that way. And they are not worthy of your support. Just look at the executive committee and you can see that there are some old school guys getting mixed in with people who are trying to volunteer, guys like Nick Kosser, who probably just wants to make a difference, but he's sucked into this vortex of old judo policy and they can't make a change. People need to clean house. I know that there is a new CEO at USA Judo. He needs to clean house completely and revamp the program because this is unacceptable. The Pedros have complained about USA Judo. Ronda Rousey has complained about USA Judo. Dr. Anne-Marina Demars has complained about USA Judo. Now Kayla Harrison is complaining about USA Judo. What is it going to take? And let me tell you, I can see why. I think Kayla Harrison's comments are a perfect springboard off of that last email that I just read. Because this is what people are talking about. And it's not changing one bit. What is it going to take? And the people who are suffering the most are the athletes who want to represent their country in judo. They are being held back because of mismanagement at USA Judo. Whether it's financial mismanagement, whether it's their inability to support the athletes and get them on a level in a way that they can compete internationally. Like she said, not one gold medal at this Pan American Games. And I was going to get into the results a little bit later, but she's right. Not one gold medal. And that's unacceptable. I mean, if our athletes cannot compete at the highest, cannot even compete at the Pan American Games and at least get one gold, we have no business going across on the other side of the Atlantic and competing in these IJF World events. What's the point? They're just going to end up in 7th place and 9th place. And again, that is not a rip on the athletes. It is a rip on the entire support structure that USA Judo has failed to provide. There is no reason why our athletes cannot compete at the highest levels with everybody else. We have the money. In this country, we have so many different advantages compared to a lot of other countries that don't have the same type of freedoms, that don't have the same type of resources. Look, the United States dominates in so many other sports in the Olympics. Why can't we figure it out for judo? It's not that hard. But we have a lot of old school people and old ideas in place that make it extremely difficult for our athletes to find success. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I have the answers. I don't have the answers. But I know there are plenty of people in this country that do have the answers. And they are probably getting shut up or pushed away on the side because because USA Judo does not want to change. I'm going to read a quick story about bananas and monkeys because this story perfectly illustrates what USA Judo is today. So here's the story. You start with a cage containing 5 monkeys. Inside the cage, hang a banana on a string and place a set of stairs under it. Before long, a monkey is going to go to the stairs and start to climb toward the banana. As soon as he touches the stairs, spray all of the other monkeys with cold water. After a while, another monkey makes an attempt with the same result. All of the other monkeys are sprayed with cold water. Pretty soon, when another monkey tries to climb the stairs, the other monkeys will try to prevent it. Now, put away the cold water, remove one monkey from the cage and replace it with a new one. The new monkey sees the banana and wants to climb the stairs. But to his surprise and horror, all of the other monkeys attack him. After another attempt and attack, he knows that if he tries to climb the stairs, he will be assaulted. Next, remove another of the original 5 monkeys and replace it with a new one. The newcomer goes to the stairs and it's attacked. The previous newcomer takes part in the punishment with enthusiasm. Likewise, replace a third original monkey with a new one, then a fourth, and then a fifth. Every time the newest monkey takes the stairs, he is attacked. Most of the monkeys that are beating him have no idea why they were not permitted to climb the stairs, or why they were participating in beating of the newest monkey. After replacing all the original monkeys, none of the remaining monkeys have ever been sprayed with cold water. Nevertheless, no monkey ever again approaches the stairs to try for the banana. Why not? Because as far as they know, that's the way it's always been done around here. And that is a perfect example of what USA Judo is all about. All of the people that are in charge have been doing things the same old way because they've been punished in years past for trying to do something different and trying to improve USA Judo. This is what USA Judo has become. And unless the CEO has the brass to lay it all on the table and get rid of all of the old fogies and all of the old people and start fresh with people that really want to change things around here, the more nothing's going to change unless the CEO of USA Judo does that. And I'm not sure if he has the gonads to be able to do that. Fire everybody and start from the ground up, because Kayla Harrison is right. This is completely unacceptable, and it's a shame that USA Judo has become this organization. I am no longer going to support financially USA Judo. Forget it. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'll go with the USJF or USJA. Even then, you know what? I might go with the Phil Porter's organization that he started years ago. Why not? They're probably far less corrupt than USA Judo. All right, I've said enough. That's all I got to say about that. I'm going to move on. All right, I want to talk about people who are actually winning prestigious judo tournaments. The All Japan Judo Championship open weight category happened on April 29th. And if you haven't heard, and I'm getting this from the Japan Times, Takeshi Ojitani secured his second straight national championship on Saturday, winning the open weight tournament for the third time in his career after defeating Aaron Wolf on points in the golden score extra period. Ojitani, who won the title for the first time in 2014, downed Ryo Shichinoe for the second straight year in the semifinals with a vertical four-quarter hold before two late penalties from Wolf in the final handed the reigning champion the title at the Nippon Budokan. Ojitani, the first back-to-back winner of the meet since Keiji Suzuki achieved this feat in 2005, secured his place in the World Championships in Budapest this summer. I always kept it in my mind to go on the attack when I start to tire, Ojitani said. I couldn't show my kind of judo in the first two rounds, but was told by my mentor to be tenacious throughout, and I stuck to that. Hisayoshi Hawasawa, last summer's Olympic silver medalist in the over 100 kilo division, went out in the third round, but will also be at the Worlds, given his record in international meets. Yeah, and that's this is me speaking. That's got to be all the points he's acquired. He's got to definitely be there. I have to believe. He, speaking about Ojitani, isn't eye-catching but deserves to win the tournament for the solid manner which he keeps getting wins, Japan coach Kosei Inui said. We'd like to fight together and make him the best in the world. For Hawasawa, what he feels of the loss and how he progresses from here is important. Ojitani missed out on the berth for the Rio Games after finishing 7th at the Grand Slam Tokyo in 2015, but he bounced back to win the 2016 championship in December and claimed his first national invitational weight class championships in the over 100 kilo class on April 2nd. I got into my rhythm for the quarterfinals. Wolf was strong. He had power and he wasn't running out of stamina, said the 24-year-old. Not making the Rio Olympics has given me motivation to drive on. Beaten finalist Aaron Wolf will be at the Worlds to fight in the 100 kilo division and look back positively on the tournament that ended with a defeat to Ojitani, who's about 40 kilograms heavier. Aaron Wolf said, "It was good to end the tournament in a decent position given it was one of those to prepare for the Worlds," said Wolf, whose father is from the United States. Okay, that makes sense given his name. "It's a plus that I gained the belief that I can cut it against judokas from overseas too." Shohei Ono, the 73 kilo gold medalist in Rio, headed into the meet weighing 78 kilos but lost in his first match. His second round match to a 95-kilo opponent went into overtime and lasted a brutal 9 minutes and 54 seconds. I came with a mission as a gold medalist and competed in a tournament in which the word defeat comes before anything else. I have no regrets, said Ono, who had the crowd on their feet as he attempted his favorite Uchimata and big outer reap throws. I am not losing heart. I will build on this, 25-year-old said. Now, guys, keep in mind that I've read this from the Japan Times, which is obviously a translation from Japanese. So, and I see his favorite inner thigh throw. They're clearly talking about Uchimata. And congratulations to Takeshi Ojitani. So that's big for him. I'm not quite sure if he'll be the one to take down Teddy Riner at the World Championships, because you can be sure that Teddy is going to be there. And Aaron Wolf, who's very strong. Now, I've talked about Aaron Wolf in the past. I assumed that his father was American, but this is the first time I have read confirmation on that, which makes sense because Aaron Wolf, while an awesome American name, is not a Japanese name. Speaking of World Championships, the IJF finally settled on a new location for their Junior World Championships. They have settled in Zagreb, Croatia. Now, for those who may not remember, the IJF was trying to hold a Judo World Championships in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which is North Korea. Which, at the time when I talked about this, I thought it was patently absurd that they would try and hold a judo tournament in North Korea. Now, this is from the IJF site. I got a little chuckle out of this. So, this was from the article on the IJF site. After several meetings and visits that took place, the International Judo Federation signaled to the local organizer, comprising of both representatives of the Sports Ministry and the DPR Korea Judo Association, during several discussions and exchanges, that there were some outstanding issues like air accessibility in Pyongyang, safety and security of participants and their belongings, communications with the outside world, possibility of live streaming, etc., etc., etc. Several international flights with the best access to Pyongyang were canceled, which creates a big logistical approach to locations. Are you kidding me? Did they really have to meet with the judo organization of North Korea to figure this stuff out? They could have just called up Judo Dave and I would have told him, look, it's not a good idea. Come on. This is the most absurd thing. They had to have several meetings with these people to figure out that this was a bad idea to begin with. Oh, okay. I love this part too. There are issues that continue to be uncertain today as well. In addition, one of the conditions that was always reminded during the preparation phase was a stable international situation of the country. At present, this situation is alarming and the outcomes are difficult to predict. Well, what situations? You mean like North Korea launching missiles toward Japan? You mean North Korea making threats to South Korea on a daily basis with their exercise and their parade of military equipment and tanks and missiles and such? Oh, you're talking about those type of international situations, right? I just want to be clear because I just want to make sure that maybe I don't know that there's a taxing situation in North Korea. I'm not so sure about that. Or maybe you're talking about the fact that there are people starving in North Korea and that anybody that says anything negative toward dear leader's regime will be put into forced labor camps. You mean those kind of conditions? Come on. This is ridiculous. It should have never come to this point. They should have picked another location, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea was the worst idea of the world. Worst idea ever! That was horrible, horrible idea, and it just shows how short-sighted the IJF leadership was in this particular issue. Alright, I need a little bit more positive news here. I need to calm down a little bit. Some of these stories today have just been really, really gotten my blood boiling and such. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit a notch and talk about something good. I don't know if you guys watched any of the European Championship over the weekend. I did not get to see it live, but I did follow up on some of the matches and saw some of the winners and losers of this particular tournament. but I didn't really care too much about the losers unless you were really up in the the finals and semifinals and such, and medal matches. That's what it means. So there's a couple big winners here. A couple of winners that did not surprise me in the least, starting with Majlinda Kelmendi. She took gold against Kuznetsova of Russia, and I gotta say, she really put up a good match against Kelmendi, but in my opinion, and I saw the IJF put out a Twitter questionnaire to find out who people thought was the best judoka in the world. And in my opinion, I think Majlinda Kelmendi is the total package. I said that before. I'll say it again. I think she was fabulous in this tournament, and she just showed her domination in this match. Now, I know there's a lot of people that might take exception to me saying Kelmendi is the best in the world, but I just think, I said it before, she just did her tenacity, her technique, her ability to just not let her opponents get an advantage at all. It's just, she's just really at the top of her game, and she's just really, really a great player to watch on the international scene. She's certainly my favorite now that Kayla Harrison's retired, and at least on the women's side, she's my favorite to watch, and by far just another fantastic day. Her final match is definitely worth watching. I'd call that must-see TV for sure. Now, on the men's side, one of my favorites to watch is in the over 100 kilo division with Guram Tushishvili, who defeated Okrashvili of Georgia as well. They're both Georgian, so it was an all-Georgian final. And, boy, I tell you what, Tushishvili really has incredible judo. I mean, for years we've been, and look, I've referenced this before. I'm not fond of Teddy Riner's judo. His matches tend to be very boring. He tends to win on inducing shidos by the other guy. But when you see an over 100 kilo player like Tushishvili throwing guys for ippon, and in this final he got the Wazari on a drop Seyanagi on Okurashvili, and he didn't defend himself, so he went for the arm lock and got the Juji Katami for the ippon win. Very, very impressive final. Very, very impressive win. Congratulations to him. He's one to look out for this year. I gotta say, between Tushishvili and Ojitani and Hawasawa, this over 100 kilo division is very strong, and I expect all three of those gentlemen to give Teddy Riner a run for his money this year. And speaking of which, if you guys haven't heard, Teddy is going to be competing in his first tournament over in Russia, Kratzenberg. I'm sorry if I got the name wrong, but in the next IJF World Tour, it's a Grand Slam, and it's going to be in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll be really interested to see how Teddy Riner changes his games to adapt to the new rules, because quite frankly, given some of the changes in the shidos and such, I wonder if some of these rules will make it difficult for Teddy to be as dominant as he once was. Now, going back to the women's side, Tina Tursteniak won her division against Pinot of France, and boy, this was a very, very long match. It went into golden score. She ended up winning by shido. Pinot came away with the shido, and that gave her the victory in the final. But this was a very hard fought match, not a very exciting match. Nobody got really thrown for a score, to be honest. But it doesn't matter. This was a big win for her. She's one of my favorites to watch. Just wasn't one of those matches that were really exciting and representative of the kind of skill set that Tursteniak has. But congratulations to her. She's one of my favorites to watch as well. And to move back over to the men's side now, guys, I know I'm jumping around all over the place. I took some random notes here, some things that really caught my eye. Zantaria of the Ukraine defeated Gombak of Slovenia in the 66 kilo final with a Cabarelli throw. Now, if you guys don't know what a Cabarelli throw is, it's kind of this. Imagine an Uchimata facing the guy, but it's really more of a hip throw than a leg throw. But imagine a reverse Uchimata. That's really the best way I could describe it. It's a throw that I really can't do. Maybe on a crash pad on somebody who's not resisting me, I could do it, but never a throw I've ever been able to pull off in Randori or in competition. But yeah, huge throw. Definitely a must-see TV match. You got to check that out. It's got to be. I don't know if that would be the best throw in the tournament, but certainly was up there. I saw another Cabarelli type throw that was fantastic to watch as well, and I'll link some of the big throws that I saw in my show notes. Actually, there's a really nice video out there that broke it down for me very easily, so I don't have to watch 18 hours worth of judo competition to break it down by timestamp. So now going back to the women's side of things, in the over 78 kilo division, Slutskaya of Belarus defeated Aromka of the Ukraine. Now, Aromka is somebody who's been really making a good run this year. She's got a couple of bronze in some of the other Grand Prix and the Grand Slam events, and she manages to get silver here. She just couldn't get on top of Slutskaya of Belarus, and it was a very, very close match, but she ended up getting pinned, and she lost to Slutskaya via Ippon, and it's a big win for her. But I'm telling you again, Aromka in that particular division is one to watch out for heading into the World Championships for sure, no doubt about it. Now, there were a lot of impressive matches that I'm just not going to be able to get to. Obviously, some big wins. I'm not going to break down every single division winner. I like to do the statistics and such when France and Japan are within the tournaments. That's when I really find it all interesting. But this was still, there were a lot of great matches that I did manage to watch. Of course, I just can't watch 18 hours worth of judo. I don't have that kind of time, so I have to rely on YouTube. Great insight from judoinside.com so I can see the specific matches that may interest me. Now, just because I highlighted a few of these matches doesn't mean that the other matches aren't worth watching, but like I said, I just can't break down every single one. And I'll link to a highlight video that I saw earlier in the week that showed their top 10 throws or whatnot, and some of the throws were incredible. I actually saw a flying armbar in one of the matches that I will definitely highlight. It was a match that happened in the very, very early rounds, but it was just an incredible armbar nonetheless, performed by Zabeda Rekviashvili. It was just incredible. It's very, very rare that I see the flying armbar, but it was an awesome technique, and he nailed it just right, caught his opponent off guard, and I'll link to that one as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Pan American Championships that also happened over this past weekend. It would seem that, judging by the results, Brazil and Cuba cleaned house over this past weekend, followed by Canada as well. Oh, Canada! Yeah, so congratulations to those three countries. The United States did not fare as well as I would have liked to have seen, and obviously if you listened earlier in this podcast, Kayla Harrison touched on that, but I did want to make special mention to Colton Brown, who got silver in the under 90 kilo division, Alexander Turner, who got bronze in the under 73 kilo division, and Hannah Martin, who I happen to follow on Instagram, got bronze in the under 63 kilo division. So congratulations to those particular Americans and to Team USA who made the trip, and I'm sure they did very, very well there. Oh, I'm looking at some results here. I must have missed this as well. Caitlin Boisseau got bronze, and same with Angelica Delgado, also got bronze in the under 52 kilo division. Caitlin got bronze in the under 48 kilo division. And let's see if I'm missing anybody else. Nina Kutro Kelly also got of the United States got bronze in the over 78 kilo division. So am I missing anybody here from the United States? I don't want to cut any of my countrymen out. I'm very proud of their efforts here, but Brazil was very, very strong. I mean, they're very strong in the international scene. Same with Cuba. So quite frankly, I'm not surprised to see them win the medal count. Oh, and turns out Marty Malloy won bronze as well in her division. All right, I think my blood pressure has lowered quite a bit since I was talking about Kayla Harrison's comments and stuff. So I think I'm going to keep this podcast a little bit shorter today, even though we're working on 54 minutes as I speak. But yeah, so later on tonight, I'm going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy in preparation for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I can't wait for that movie. I plan to watch it next weekend. And I'm sorry, if I said this already, I'm going to repeat myself. If I didn't say it already, you guys should know that one of these weekends in May, probably the weekend of May 20th, there will not be a podcast on that Monday. I think I said that already. But usually I record the podcast on the weekend. But there's no way I'm going to have time to do that because I'm going to be moving. I got to make sure that I'm set up properly and all of that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that move. We're going into a new house. It's a nice house. It's got a fenced backyard. It's got 3-car garage. It's a ridiculous size house, but I got a ridiculously sized family, so that works out for me pretty well. So I don't want to hear any emails about me living in a McMansion. I'm renting the place. I'm not buying it. One day I would like to buy a condo on the beach or maybe a little home off of the Alafaya River down here in Tampa Bay and be able to go fishing and do all that stuff in my retirement. But for now, I need the space that these ridiculously sized homes can provide, and they're reasonably priced for me, so I'm all very happy about that. All right, I'm done. I need a beer. I got an IPA in the fridge with my name on it. So with that, I hope you have a good rest of the week. I hope you have having a great weekend. Train hard. Stay safe out there. And until next time, I'm out.
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style. Hey, sexy lady. Oppan Gangnam Style. Hey, sexy lady.
Buzz off, punk!